Hey, I'm Lauren, one of the pastors here, and I want to be the first to say thank you. Thank you for being here and worshiping with us. This is, in the church world, what's known as the fourth Sunday of Advent, the time before Christmas. We know we're getting close to celebrate the Lord's birth, Jesus' birth, on Christmas Day. So I'm really glad you're here, really glad you've taken some time out of your schedule to worship with us. We have some great things in store. Paul will be leading us in some Christmas carols. Shaye has a great message about joy, one of the themes of Advent, and we'll celebrate together the reason for the season. So thank you for being here. Together in this virtual space, we're going to sing and hear about the goodness of God. We're going to share the abundance of resources we've been given. We're going to listen together for a message from God, and we're going to participate in practices of the faith that connect us with believers throughout the centuries and across the world. So, let's take a moment, take a deep breath, focus ourselves, and remember that Christ is here, symbolized by the Christ candle, the waymaker, the miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. Christ is here, working in our midst. So together, let's worship our God.
You are here, moving in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. And even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Oh, you never stop. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let all their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more let sin and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow, far as the truth is found, far as the curse is found, far as the curse is found. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, 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 and wonders of his love.
This must be one of the hardest years in memory to celebrate joy, to sing about joy. But I think it's important to remember that as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we do have a reason to be joyful. We do have something to celebrate. That's what the season is all about. Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. God is here with us no matter what's going on. God is here working to bring rightness and justice to our world. So let's try to celebrate and sing and celebrate what we can, even in these challenging, tumultuous times. Well, in this season of Christmas, we have a couple things we want to do to help you celebrate and remember the reason for this season. This Monday, tomorrow, December 21st at 6:30 p.m., we're going to have what's called a longest night service. And it's meant to be a time that we can remember and mourn and grieve all that we've lost in the past year. We've all lost a lot. So we're going to make space just for you to remember together. Then this Wednesday, a little bit more of a funner affair, is what's called a Christmas Eve sing-along. And this will happen live at 6:30. And it's going to be a really fun time where you can request songs to sing together live, and we'll all sing together over Zoom. It'll be a really fun affair. You should have received by this weekend a little Christmas kit that'll have songbooks and candles and little things to go with both of those things combined. So if you haven't received one, send me a text or a call, 303-390-1260. I'd be glad to get you one of those as soon as I can so you can participate fully. Appreciate all you've done and the ways that you've contributed. I know that during this season it's hard. Finances are tight. We're stretched thin in many ways, and we really appreciate all the ways that so many of you have chosen to continue to be generous and to give to support the work that we're doing here together to bring good news and hope and welcome and inclusion to so many people. So thank you. Thank you for the ways you've been generous. I know, like I said, for many of y'all, it's tight. This is an expensive time. So don't feel bad that you feel like you can't contribute. There's two other ways you can help us out, help what we're doing. One is just to share, like, subscribe. It helps more people find out about this good thing that we're doing. So if you haven't already, share, like, subscribe. It really helps. And then, like I've been beating this drum, and I'll keep beating it because it's so easy. Link your King Supers card to Mission Gathering Christian Church. Helps us get 5% back on what you spend. So it's an easy way you can contribute and help us out. Finally, I want to encourage you to leave a word of peace. Whether it's someone in your own household right now, you're texting someone, or say a word of peace on the comment section. We all need peace. We need God's peace during these stressful times. So may God's peace be with you.
Thank you, Paul, for that amazing music. You just really you lead us into the Spirit every week and get everybody set up so now I can preach to them. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I also want to say thank you to Nellis for your awesome sermon last week. I know Ruth wasn't an easy subject, and really none of these subjects are easy because there's not a ton of preaching that we can hear about these women. So thank you, Nellis, for willing to enter into this with me and do the work. Today we're doing Mary, and this is the last sermon in our series on celebrating the feminine in the season. I want to start today by asking you guys if you saw the news story last week. Yeah, which one? I know. This one was about, not really a news story, it was an opinion piece in Wall Street Journal by a guy whose name I'm not even going to mess with because he doesn't need the notoriety. A gentleman from Wall Street Journal, again being generous, wrote an op-ed piece about why Dr. Jill Biden should not use doctor when she's going to be the First Lady. He started out, and within 7 words, he called her kiddo. Apparently, originally the word was sweetheart, and they made him change it, but it was kiddo. That's immediately when my brain turned off. I got to tell you, no woman likes being called kiddo, but especially a woman who has her doctorate in education and has done so many amazing things in her professional life. Calling her kiddo is way outside the lines of okay. And we hear this a lot. Women in professional sessions or professional settings. We hear a lot that our work is not that important, that we shouldn't focus too much on what our career is because there are other things that matter. And we think that our world is becoming more egalitarian every day, that misogyny is dying out, and that women are equal, and it's just not true. it's not yet. When we have stories of women in detention centers who are having hysterectomies without giving their consent, whose doctors are pressuring them into medical procedures where their uterus is removed, and they did not give consent. When things like that are happening, you know that women are not considered equal to men. And it's not just that. I don't know if you guys know, but since car test dummies became a thing, the standard has been men, male bodies. It's the same height, same weight that's been used since the 1970s, when they started using crash test dummies instead of the guy who was offering to be a crash test dummy. In the 1980s, they finally realized, oh, we're just testing for men here. In 2003, they got the first female crash test dummy. And that was based on a reduced man. So they just took the male dummy, they made the height less, they made it way less, and that was it. That was their female crash test dummy. The understanding was that a woman is just less than a man. Not that women's bodies are different, not that there's different proportions, but that it's less than. 2020, and we still do not have a female crash test dummy. And I'd like to ask you to imagine what that means for women in car safety. Because cars are not made to protect women. Even though women make up 50% of drivers and 50% of the population. And it's not just cars. And it's not just the professional world. Medical research reflects it. Things like birth control pills. Did you know that the birth control pill for men was being rolled out? They were working on it, they thought they had it, and they realized that there were severe side effects, like blood clots. They realized that there were side effects that are mimicking exactly the side effects that women experience with birth control and have since birth control became a thing in the 70s and 80s. And that's when they decided that male birth control was not something that they really needed to continue using anymore. We've come a long way since we started using words like hysteria in a medical context, but we still have a long, long way to go. Marketing reflects it by using the male gaze in order to market everything to people. All of our research, all of our commercials or research shows that all of our commercials are based around the fact that it is the male gaze that matters. They're marketing to men and they're marketing for men. I could recite statistics and studies all day long. And really, I haven't even touched yet on how this world affects brown, black, and indigenous women differently. Brown, black, and indigenous women are 2 to 3 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women. And the maternal death rate for white women in the United States is higher than any other in the developing world. I should say in the financially wealthy worlds, in the way that we define developing and civilization. And that number from 2 to 3 times jumps to 3 to 4 times if the woman is over 30. And there is a whole different world of statistics to address for women who are not cisgendered and women who are LGBTQIA+. And all of these inequalities and injustices deserve our attention. That's not an easy sentence to say, friends. All of these inequalities and injustices deserve our attention and our action to address them. And not only do they deserve it, but I believe, and here's the good news. I have good news today. I believe that the Bible teaches us through the Word of God and the teachings and revelations of Christ's life and ministry. I believe the Bible shows us that what God and Jesus show us. You know what? I'm putting my phone away and my notes because people, this is not how I want to talk to you. I try. You saw me try, but that's not how I'm going to talk to you today. Because I don't need it. All right? The Bible teaches us that women are important. That brown, black, indigenous people, that all of those people who are on the margins of society are important. We see through Christ's life, through his teachings, through his ministry, that women and minorities and all of these people that life marginalizes, that society marginalizes, matter. And they matter to God. And the world tries to change that. That's one of those things that when I wanted to talk about Mary, I was trying to figure out how to talk about her as a woman, as a human being, because the world and religion takes women in the Bible and it says, okay, there are women in the Bible and their stories obviously matter, but we're not sure women matter in society. So let's think. Ooh, I know, we're going to make them archetypes. Women are either harlots or they're Madonnas. They either sell their bodies and don't matter and maybe get blessed and graced by God and should thank their life that anybody cared, or they are virginal and perfect and motherly and we make statues of them and we put them up on pedestals. That's how the world has reduced women. And you may ask me, a Madonna is reducing women? Seems like revering. But I got to tell you, revering women is just as harmful, not just as harmful, but still pretty harmful as reducing women to harlots. Because when you revere women and you put them on a pedestal, you stop looking at them as human beings. You stop seeing them as human beings who are equal to and as important as all of the men in the Bible. This is where Mary comes in, and this is where I'm going to talk about Mary. And this is the good news. Luke talks about Mary. Luke is really great about this. He's one of the Gospels that really focuses on women. We don't see women after the Gospels much in the New Testament, or we do, but they're very veiled references, like letters from Paul where it's not obvious. But we see Mary. Luke starts the story of Jesus with Mary. Mary is a young woman. We don't know a ton about her, but we know she's a woman in Nazareth. We know she's engaged to Joseph. And we know that an angel shows up. And that angel says, Mary, blessed art you among women. You have been chosen by God. And Mary says, what? You're freaking me out here. I'm paraphrasing. That's not how Luke put it. But she is surprised and a little scared. And she says, why has God chosen me? What is this about? And Luke says that Mary was able to look at the angel and say, I accept. Whatever it is God has chosen me for, I'm willing to do it. Let's go. Let's do it. She's young. She tells the angel, I am a young woman. She says, I am a virgin. I have not yet known a man. This is different than the way it's depicted. It doesn't start out by telling us she's a virgin, and it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I'm not sure it matters whether Mary was a virgin as the patriarchal society understands it, because really that's just another label. But she was a young woman who told the angel, I don't know how this works because I'm not married, but let's do this. I'll carry God's child. She's a young woman in an impossible situation in a poor area of the world under Rome's occupation, who is engaged to be married but is not yet married, and she says, okay, God's asking me to do the impossible, but there's a reason for it. And then in the Magnificat, which she gets to sing about it. She gets to express her incredible joy that God has given this to her and that God has placed this upon her. And then she gets to sing to her cousin. She goes to see her cousin who's pregnant with John, and Elizabeth gets to tell her story. And here's the fun part. Here's one of the parts that I love about it. Joseph doesn't get to really tell his story. Mary gets to tell hers. Joseph gets to, we figure out that he's thinking of divorcing Mary quietly, and that shows us he's a good man. And the angel shows up and says, don't marry her. And he says, okay. And that's Joseph's part. And then later he takes them to Bethlehem because that's where he was born. That's all Joseph says. And then Zebediah, Elizabeth's husband, he finds out his wife is pregnant. He starts thinking about what he wants to name the baby. His wife tells him, the angel said that I've got a name. The angel told me this. And God shuts Zebediah's mouth until the day of John's circumcision. And the first word that Zebediah says in all that time is John. His name is John. Like, okay, I get it. It's John. I'm not going to name him after me. John. Zebediah's lips are shut and Elizabeth gets to tell the story. And if nothing else, that should show you that God has got a plan and a place and love for women as human beings and a part of this narrative, because we're all a part of this narrative. That's the thing. Black, brown, indigenous, women, non-cisgender people, people who are LGBTQI+, people who are different, People that society says is not the norm and cannot be represented in crash test dummies because it's too hard to represent people who are not what we think normal is. God says those people matter. That's the joy in Christmas. That's the joy that I feel about these stories. That's why, as a woman, I keep getting back up again in this profession. Because I got to tell you, Dr. Jill Biden is not the only woman in the professional setting who gets told that she should just be happy to be who she is. And who they think she is a woman who gets to live in free housing and be married to the most powerful man in the world. That's it. All of her years of education, the job, the profession, the calling she's devoted her life to, whatever. That doesn't matter. She gets to be married to the president. I've got to tell you that women in ministry, we hear it every day. I have heard groups of women in ministry be referred to as pastorettes. Not pastors, not equal to men, pastorettes. We get our own club and we get to be cute. I've been called sweetheart by other ministers multiple times. I've even had a man come and tell me that God gave me a uterus, so God gave me my calling. I'm supposed to carry children. Anything else, I'm just flouting God's will. And I tell you that because I'm still mad. And if any woman you know tells you she's not mad about the world treats women, the way the world treats women, she's either not telling the whole truth because she doesn't want to get into it, or she's repressing it. But when the world tells you you don't matter, that what you do is always less than what the world sees as standard, it's going to make you mad. And I get mad. I get raging mad. And then I know that there is a God in heaven who sees me as being worth the time, worth the story, because I always get back up again, and I don't do that on my own. I mean, Anna Kendrick's song from Trolls helps a lot, and Fight Song. I have a whole list of music that helps when somebody calls me sweetheart again. And I believe most women in professional settings probably have something similar to help them get back up again. But I don't do it on my own, and the songs are not enough. God shows me through stories like Mary and Elizabeth, through stories like Rahab and Bathsheba and Ruth. God shows me that we all have a part to play, we all matter, and we are all important to God. Because why else would the Bible, a patriarchal book written by patriarchal men in a patriarchal time, why else would we get to know Ruth's name and Bathsheba and Rahab's name? Rahab is listed as being a prostitute. She is a woman who either is a madam who owns a house of ill repute, or she's a madam who works there, but she is that kind of woman. She falls into that archetype. And she is a part of Jesus' lineage. She is a part of bringing Jesus, the Son of God, into this world. We know her name, we know her story, we know she matters. Same with Ruth. We know her name, we know her story, and we know she matters. And Naomi, and Bathsheba, and Jael, which is an entirely different sermon that I love to preach because there are tent spikes and violence, and it's great. It's a great story. But they're not just stories, they were people. That's why we preach this sermon series. That's why it's this important. And the world tells women, they tell minorities, they tell people on the margins, you don't matter. And they do it every day, and they do it in a million different ways. A million different ways. They tell us we don't matter. Hey, and I'm privileged because I am white and I am cisgendered and I'm married to a man. I've got a whole world of privileges. But I am told every day that I don't matter, and it hurts and it's hard. But I, like millions and billions of other people, get back up again every day. A million other people tell billions of other people that they don't matter because they are not what society is made for. But then we look at Mary. We look at a poor young girl who was alone in Nazareth, who is going to marry a carpenter, who has, as far as we know, no standing, no privilege, no wealth. In an occupied country, she had nothing. Nothing to prop her up and make her powerful. And her story mattered. Her joy over being able to birth Jesus matters. So don't, please, people, don't this year. Don't sing Mary Did You Know. Don't do it. It's a mansplaining awfulness. And don't look at Mary in the manger scene and think, oh, she's perfect and heavenly and holy. And look, her hair is perfect. Somehow she managed to travel hundreds of miles on the back of a donkey while pregnant and give birth in a stable and then wake up and look perfect with this baby that's miraculously shining and clean and there's no blood and everybody's lovely. Don't do it. Have those nativity scenes. I've got one. But when you look at it, remember, she was poor. She was powerless. She gave birth to the Son of God, and she did so with joy in her heart because God told her she was a part of the story. God tells me I am a part of the story, and that it doesn't matter if 1,000,000 people come by and say what I do is wrong, and it doesn't matter. God tells me to get back up again and do it anyways because it matters to God. Okay? That's the joy. That's the message in Christmas. That's the message God shares with us always through the Bible. You matter. You're important to the story. Get back up again. And this world will tell you that you're not worth anything. And society may never change, but because we are beloved by God, we get to be a part of trying to make it change. We get to be a part of the people who stand up and say, no, you matter, you matter, you matter, and I'm going to be here screaming that you matter and fighting for you to matter in this world until the day I die and until the day that God's kingdom comes again and we all matter.
I can't think of any place in the way we worship that is more important for demonstrating that we matter, for demonstrating that our relationship with God in Christ is central to what we do, than at the communion table. And I say this metaphorically, I don't have a table today. And that's all right, because God asks us to meet God where God was, and God meets us where we are. Because it was on the night before his death when Jesus sat down with women and men, pretty sure they weren't white. He sat down with all of them and he broke bread and he blessed it and he said, this bread is my body which is broken for you. Eat this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, he poured it, he blessed it, and he said, this cup, this is the new covenant in my blood. This is the promise I'm making to you. Whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim my death until I come again. You tell the world until I'm back what I did and why I matter and why you matter and why we all matter to God. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for sharing with me, as I shared with you, a story and a message that is so, so important. I hope that it spoke to you. Thank you even more for sharing in communion with me, because we are so apart right now and it hurts, but we are together when we take communion together. And now I'd ask you to share with me as we recite the Lord's Prayer. Use the words that you're most comfortable and familiar with, please. I'll use the words that I'm comfortable and familiar with, the words I was raised with one small edit. The words don't matter nearly as much as what we say when we say the words. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear the whole land by light of a star sweetly gleaming. Here came the wise men from Orient land. The King of Kings lay thus in lowly manger. In all our trials, born to be our friend. He knows our need, to our weaknesses no stranger. Behold your King before him lowly bend. Behold your King before him lowly bend. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise, we let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord.
Thank you, Shaye, for that message. Thank you, Paul, for our worship. And thank you, our viewer, our participant, our part of our gathering for worshiping with us this week. Again, like I said, we got the things on Monday, on Wednesday, coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. Love to have you be a part of it. Should be some great things to do. Stick around if you'd like to for our Zoom gathering. Happens at 11:30. We'll stick the link in the comment section below, or check your email if you're a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber, you need to become a subscriber. Go to our Facebook page. We can help you get that started. So thanks so much for being here. I really, really, really want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. I know Christmas is going to look a lot different for us in a lot of different ways than it's ever looked before. But I hope and I pray that you can find a space and time to celebrate with a loved one, even if it's through this. I wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.